Welcome to the Spotlight segment. This is a segment dedicated to interviews with developers or interesting happenings in the world of Android. And now for this week's episode, here's your Spotlight.
For our Spotlight section, I'm delighted to say that we're joined by Olga Yakovleva from RHVoice. Olga, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you. Nice to meet you all, and good day to everyone.
Lovely to meet you too, and thank you for joining us. Before we get into RHVoice, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into software development?
I'm totally blind from birth. At school, I enjoyed mathematics, most of the best of all the subjects. And late in my school years, I started learning how to use a computer, and I realized I wanted to know how to drive them, how to program them, how to make them do something useful. And so I became a software developer.
Brilliant. And can you tell us a little bit about RHVoice?
Well, the RHVoice app for Android is a part of the larger RHVoice project. It started as a personal project on Linux. I wanted better Russian voice for myself. Russian is my native language. And then over time, it just happened. It grew. It expanded. Uh, More people contributed to it. More languages were added. More voices. More platforms. Support for more platforms, including Android. And that's gradually it became the thing it is now.
And you don't necessarily have to list them all, but how many languages are you supporting at the minute?
Oh, I can't say exact number. I haven't prepared properly, around a dozen. But if I have to,
A
yeah,
dozen is close enough. That's good.
yeah, yeah.
Usually I'm the historian, and I'm glad you guys mentioned the history here, the project, and all of that. Olga, let's talk about now. Here you are, you're a blind kid going back to school back then. And then to add on top of that, you're a girl, a woman. How was it? Was it easy for you? Because usually people don't associate most of the time, back in the day. It used to be that people think that you're a woman, you shouldn't be concerned about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and all of that. And to be honest with you, I'm not a math guy, so this is all like Greek to me, how you're able to do this kind of stuff. How easy or how hard was it for you, starting as a personal project and, maturing into what it is and then getting contributors and now a knuckleheaded kid like me out here in the state of Washington um, enjoying your work?
Well, so two parts. As a woman, I never had any trouble. No one ever told me I shouldn't be doing mathematics or programming as a girl. At school, I was the best in my class at mathematics, and my teachers was actually women. Mathematics teachers were women, and my parents were very supportive. In my family, there are people with technical background, and then I actually didn't go to study software development because no one was sure if a blind, not a woman or anything, but if a blind person could do it. I didn't actually know anyone at the time who could tell me I could study computer science. So I went to study mathematics and studied programming on my own. And RH Voice, how it developed was a difficult. I mean, there was no plan. There was no. Uh, it just developed gradually somehow from project to project, from one development to another. I started experimenting. I became very, just fascinated by text to speech. I wanted to know how it worked. Had used it for years by then, but then I discovered some software and documentation which explained how to actually make a voice, and I got very interested. And as I said, I could, I needed a better voice, so I just tried, and it worked, and I published it on the internet, and people got interested. Blind people got interested. More and more people got interested. I developed versions for Windows, uh, later for Android. Uh, then people got interested in other languages. Um, and I tried to develop a new language. I didn't speak myself. I developed support for it, and it became one of the priorities. Like there are two major priorities for me and other people in the project. Screen reader support, that we created a responsive screen reader compatible engine for all the supported platforms, but also languages, unsupported languages which don't have good options right now. We want to add as many voices as possible for such languages, so screen reader users have options, and so organizations got interested, um, provided support funding for such projects, organizations helping the blind, and so that's how it gradually grew and developed.
One more, Olga. So, what year did you bring this thing to Android? I think I remember, but I want to say, was it 2016, 2017? I don't remember exactly. And then, were was there a time that you felt like giving up on the project and all of that? It's very difficult. I mean, I don't have any experience at all in developing anything, but was there any time that you felt like, maybe I should give up on this project, or it's kind of being too difficult or whatever, and just kind of getting fed up with it? Take us down that road.
Uh, well, to be honest, I can't actually exactly remember when I published the first version of the app on Android. Sorry, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was 20. Um, I think maybe about, I want to say, because I know that, some of my students, I had them trying it. And I think maybe that was either 2017 or 2018. It was definitely before the COVID.
Yeah, I
Maybe like
think it
a
was
year or
earlier.
two
I
before the
think it was
COVID. Yeah.
earlier, actually. I
Yeah.
think it was earlier. It may
Yeah.
be
Like 2018 or 2017.
2014, or even, I think it was even earlier than that.
Oh, okay.
Because I remember the device I was testing it, developing it on, it was the good old tablet Nexus 7, and that was like
That was from
2013.
2012. Yeah, Nexus. We
Yeah.
got 2012 and 2013 versions of the Nexus 7. So you're correct. You probably have that thing going back in 2014. Now, I didn't discover it till I think maybe 2016, 2017, somewhere in there.
Yeah. And answering your second question, well, it's difficult. I mean, voice development is complicated. It's a very specialized programming task, and it requires external resources. Like you need good quality natural speech recordings. You need to learn enough about the language you are developing for, and it's people, when they discover RHVoice on Google Play, they seem to think it's behind it. There's a large company with a lot of resources, rich company, and there's just really a few people, and we get requests all the time. Get at this language, at that language, but it's not that simple. You really need external support. You need funding for such work, and it's very challenging. And yes, sometimes you think that eh, it's difficult. I don't know if we are going to continue, how we're going to continue. So it, it happens. Yes.
Now, you're not charging for this. And I was just, the first thing that hit me was the fact that you're not even charging $1 for it. Have you considered? Because I don't think it would be a sin for you to say, hey, I'm going to charge a couple of dollars for this. And like you mentioned, it's not easy developing software, and most especially if you're going to be supporting various languages out there as it stands. And you would need some help, people contributing or whatever, translators and all of that. uh, how are you able to keep doing this if you are not charging for this? And would you not think of maybe charging a little bit for it down the road, just to be able to maintain the development of the app? Because the one thing I would not like to see is to see that thing disappear. Then I'll be mad at you.
um, well, okay, it's complicated because there I personally has worked on multiple projects for languages, those unsupported languages I keep talking about, right? They didn't have good options before. And one of the conditions is that this project is funded, this work is funded, but the result is free for users. So they have access to it. And that's how many of our voices have been developed. They, we don't charge for them. We don't charge for the app. Someone sponsors the development, and then the voice is free. We have tried. We have tried to start selling a couple premium voices, which for the language, which has a lot of other options. Portuguese. That's one of the things we've tried. But to be honest, so far we haven't really found a solution, a real solution for our sustainability question.
So, if you have some nice voices or premium voices in Portuguese that you may allow people to buy, when would that come to the English language?
English, better English voices, and yes, the possibly paid English voices is one of the things we are hoping to do in the near future. We're considering it. Right now, we're doing some work on Spanish, and we hope maybe we can start selling some Spanish voices.
Feel free not to answer it if it's giving away any secrets. One thing we really notice, and you will have done as well, is sometimes you'll use a synthesizer or a text-to-speech engine, and it's really laggy, really unresponsive. You talked about the importance of responsiveness when you were developing RH voice. What causes that unresponsiveness in speech synthesizers? Why is it sometimes some of them are really unresponsive and some of them are great?
Well, I can talk about our approach, and the others may use different approaches. I don't know if they're secrets. Our approach is not a secret, actually, because it's based on an existing open source library which implemented it, and then we re-implemented it in our engine. And the secret is that by default, when speech is generated, uh, it's generated for the whole sentence. The whole sentence is processed, and based on the information about the sentence, the whole sequence of speech parameters for the sentence is generated first, and then it's sent to play to your speakers. And so the longer your sentence is, the longer it will take to synthesize it. But what RHVoice does, it generates bit by bit short segments, and it joins them in a way that is smooth, And so how long your sentence is, it will start speaking as soon as the first segment is ready.
And is that harder work for you because you have to know how to join them naturally, or is that not really a problem? Those smaller bits.
Well, it's there are yes, there are mathematical ways to join them. Well, that's actually not. I haven't worked on that part. My colleague worked on that, and it worked well enough. So, well, it's a bit harder, yes, but it's not that much. That much of it's a solved problem, and it's been solved not by us but by researchers before who published their method.
Olga, first, I would like to thank you on behalf of all those language speakers having the engine speaking their native language. Considering myself a true world citizen, I'm so happy whenever I see a new language being added to the portfolio.
Thank you. Glad
Well,
to hear it.
and it's part of this podcast. We are accessible under it.com. So we have a list of languages with available TTS engines table, and you can see many languages and which TTS engines it supports. So RHVoice is getting real popular in there, and this is something great. And here's the boring question. I know you've been asked that a lot. Some people want to have their languages in the portfolio. How they can do this? Like, for example, Arabic, Persian, Turkish, and there are many languages, many speakers of languages. They want their languages to be added, but they don't know how it's done in your side. So maybe a little bit of explanation can help them.
Mm. Well, are you asking about the process, how text to speech, how in general
Yeah,
we develop the text?
how it's getting developed, like how they do this language ready for them to use in their TTS.
Mm. Okay, it's complicated. There are two parts to it. You need to develop support for the language itself. You need to code its pronunciation rules, and how complicated or simple that is, it depends on the language. Like English, what you write and what you actually say in English, it's very different things. Other languages are less
So
complicated.
my
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
this question is going the other way. Like, are you having this? Sometimes you have the speaker, the native speaker of that language, but you don't have to module to work on it. I mean, you don't have the resources to work on that language. Do you have that too sometimes?
Mm,
Imagine you've got the native speaker of that language. For example, you got a native speaker. He wants to work with you for having that language for RH voice, but you don't have the resources to train that language, learn that language.
right. For every language, we need to learn enough about it, and we need to write the rules for it. That's how our system works. There are modern neural network systems which can work from text directly, but we don't do that. So first we learn how pronunciation works in this language, and we code the rules, and then we record a native speaker, very high quality speech corpus, and then our machine learning system learns how to then um, produce uh, speech from any given transcription of the text.
Let's say Karine would like to help you in translation into Arabic or some other language. How would anyone that would be interested in helping you guys go about helping in this project, to translate into another language, for example? What would that process look like? Or is that not something that you guys have contributors from other sources like that?
There are two kinds of developers of languages and voices in our project. There are people who work on it. They come and they may develop themselves the language and the voice. but for their own language. They usually do it in their spare time. And then there are people who work on it full time, try to work on it full time, and they don't ask people who want to develop a voice or language to work on it themselves, but they ask support, right, in organizing recording, maybe in, um, but also, in financial support. If we work on it, we really need to, it needs funding. So maybe you know some organization who can help, help in finding a voice talent to record, possibly finding a linguist, all that national organizational stuff, and we will work on the language and the voice.
Now, Olga, this is something that I noticed with RH Voice. It's a little bit quieter, for example. Is there a way, or maybe would you guys be planning on maybe like adding like a volume booster or something to that effect? Because like when I'm using it, I'll have to turn up, let's say if I were using another TTS and I was at 30%, volume. If I switch to this TTS, I have to kind of turn up that volume a little bit. Is there a way you guys might kind of give it a little boost or implement a way to turn up its volume natively?
We have a volume setting for language. Have you tried that?
Maybe I didn't, but I was just hoping though that it would just kind of
You
like,
want
latch onto whatever current volume that I have my system set to, instead of falling below uh, the current volume that I have the system set to.
mm, well, it's probably not because it's falling below the volume, but because our recordings are probably naturally just quieter.
A little softer, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I've seen that.
basically,
Yeah, most of the recordings are kind of like low. And are there any plans to make it more natural? It's super responsive, really fast. I mean, of using with the screen reader. But for those who like natural voices, are there any plans? Like, for example, premium voices. You have a Portuguese. I can see they are pretty natural. But when it comes to punctuation, stresses, and things like that, is it any good?
um, okay. So to finish, to conclude the volume question, you are asking basically that by default, the overall volume of all voices should be larger, greater, right? By
Yeah,
default.
in other words, let's say I'm using, and it is not very true. It's, let me qualify that it's not very true with every. I have several different TTS engines, and some would be louder, as you've indicated, based on the original recording of the process and all of that. But I find that the RH voice is the one that's kind of quieter than all of them, even if I just leave it at the volume that I have. Let's say I bring a cappella on, or bring vocalizer on, or eSpeak or some other ones up. They would at least almost matching the current volume that I set it to. But when I switch to the RH voice, it's a little bit quieter. But I think I'm now understanding the process, why that would be. Like you indicated, it could be that the recording was a softer recording. And so also, like you said, though, uh, if there's a volume booster that I could adjust it natively from within the app, I have to do
Yes.
that.
In the language, it's done per language. You can go to the settings for this language, and there is a rate setting and a volume setting.
Nice.
And the second question was about Portuguese, right? Punctuation.
Yeah, just an example. Are there natural voices? Are you planning natural voices, like human-like voices?
You mean like neural network voices?
Yeah, kind of.
Actually, you mean, yeah, right. Sorry,
Well, so
'cause,
basically, here's what he's saying. Some of the natural sounding TTS engines, sometimes some of them don't do punctuations well and stuff like that. So you guys may be venturing into those nicer premium voices, as you indicated. I mean, like you probably have it testing going on in Portuguese. And so he's asking as to uh, if this problem that we've seen with some of the natural sounding TTS engines could be eliminated.
you're talking about intonation, right?
Yeah, yeah,
When you
exactly.
say punctuation.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm. Yes, our rich voice currently, right? It doesn't. It's not. It's something some of us are discussing, but right now it's not. Often doesn't, as you say, do punctuation right. Like it doesn't. You can't tell a semicolon from a period, for example, in our rich voice. Some of our languages have intonation called questions, as in Portuguese even have intonation for exclamations, but it's a difference between languages. So intonation is not easy to do. So unfortunately, I can't say that our choice is especially has some kind of special advantage in it. In this area, we try and we are thinking about possible improvements, but they are still in the process of being discussed and tried. So we have nothing special to
Uh,
offer in terms of intonation.
yeah. So can we get a spoiler? Are there any languages working on like are you working on any new languages rather than the existing ones? Are there any new languages coming?
Well, here in Armenia, where we are trying to get started to get the Armenian project started, but it's I can't say when and how it will turn out. There are Spanish voices we're working on, and as I mentioned before, we're hoping to do better English at some point soon. But as for definite, can't say any more definite at this point, any more than that.
Well, although most questions that I was going to ask are already asked and you already answered them, but I want first to welcome you and to say that I'm always glad to see a lady working in software development. This is dominated by men, so it's great to see you here. It's great to see you working in this. Yeah, so
Amen, amen, amen.
from lady
Or
to
a
lady.
women
So
in this case.
So yeah, really thank you for your work. And well, I have RH Voice installed on my phone. I also follow updates. However, I'm not using it just because I prefer human-like voices more. This is just personal preference, but I have a question regarding languages. So, as I think that you already said before that you focus on languages that have no voices for them or that are not famous in the popular TTS engines, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so but why US English is included? Although US
Oh,
English
come
is
on,
the
Karen. You
yeah,
don't want her to support U.S. English. What are you talking about?
no, wait,
It was there. It
wait,
was there
wait.
from the start because
Yeah,
after my own language, because I needed it. I needed
yeah.
an English voice.
Yeah, I wanna reach a point here, which is I'm not against supporting English, yes, but why there is no UK voice?
Well, because I mean, when I developed that English support a long time ago, and it's still the case, I think the only good, large, freely accessible dictionary and English, recordings were United States English. I didn't see anything for the UK English, so I didn't use it. So I've created US voices, and they've been here for ages. They are very old, almost as old as RHVoice itself.
Okay, makes total sense. Well, I have just two other questions. The first one: are you like planning to work on other projects like a TTS engine that could support maybe the Piper neural voices or something like that? This is the first question, and the other one is if people want to donate. So, what's the procedure to give donations to the project?
All right. So yeah, we have been looking at Piper, not extensively. We have been looking at trying neural network voices, but we haven't really doing it. We aren't really doing it yet, and I don't have any definite answer when and how and if it's going to happen. They have their own challenges, neural network voices. So to be honest, I don't know the answer to that question at this point. Uh, I personally, yes, I would like to be able to develop voices, natural sounding voices with the same responsiveness RHvoice has. But the technology we have now, it's much simpler to create a reasonable voice. It needs less speech, um, and right now it's more responsive, this engine. As for donations, we don't actually take donations. We don't have the setup, the arrangement for donations. We've been discussing it on and off, but we always decided not to do it because it seemed you need a proper legal and money setup to manage donations, and then there is a question of what do the donations support? You donate, and then how do we use them? So we never answered all those questions. Well, we never started taking donations.
Yeah, but this might be something that you could consider in future because the maintenance of the app, the like you need to have something that works, and you should like be supported, and people should be able to support you. I'm not sure how many people are going to be able to support the project, but maybe as a suggestion, maybe in the future you could add the donation version in the Play Store itself to just for people to say thank you, maybe for the hard work that you are doing.
I don't know if Google actually allows that. Does it allow you to charge for something which you don't sell? I don't know. We need to look into this. I'm not sure. Again, I don't have a definite answer.
Just a couple of questions from me. When Corinne was talking about Piper and neural network, a lot of our listeners won't know what that is. Is that essentially just making the voices sound more natural? Is that what that means?
Well, it's neural networks are much better at learning this relationship from text, so to say, to speech. They can then generate very natural speech. Um, so yes, it will be more natural, more human-like, more pleasant to listen to. Yes, but it's more. At least as I see it, it's more challenging. It really it requires a lot of what we call training data, a lot of recordings for it to learn from, much more recordings than the technology we are currently using. Like, with our technology, you can record an hour of speech and have a reasonable voice, but with neural network, you probably need tens of hours, uh, 10, 20, even more. That's at least what my conclusion is from the research I looked at, and the published recordings, open source recordings available, on which various research is being done in this new technology.
Fair enough.
I just mentioned Piper because the voice data is already available for many languages and for many variants, and it's already supported. There's a driver for NVDA, for example, on Windows. So for that reason, I just mentioned it as an example because already the data of many voices is available. So this was an example because, Piper is something that there are developers who are working on, as I said, in NVDA, for example. Yeah, it is less responsive, of course. Even on NVDA, it is less responsive than, for example, Acapella or eSpeak or any other engine. But yeah, I think that it's just amazing because of the amount of languages that are supported and because of the voice data that is available.
Yes. But in practical terms, it means that there is already a solution, right? There is already Piper. So there is really RHVoice is not going to create any advantages if we try doing it.
Yeah, but it's not for our Android, so this is the point.
Yes, but it will be
Yeah.
right now. It will be even less responsive on Android.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes. So right now our focus is responsiveness. So yes, again, I know this that neural networks are the future, and they sound great if they are done right, but our choice is not ready for them yet. But I'm not saying it will never switch to them.
Well, Olga, thank you. This has been very educating, and we are so thankful for your work there with the team members for this project. And would you come back again, when you have done some more stuff that would like to talk about? In other words, would you be willing to come back again down the road after some updates and things like that? And let's talk about some of the newer things that you guys have done in the future. So we would love to have you come back. So would you be willing to come back again? And maybe this time bring along some Russian or Armenian food. We love food.
Okay, okay. I'll be glad to come. Yes, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you for um, this conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How would people reach you guys? Well, I guess through the app. Is there feedback there, or just they will send you a message from the Play Store? Like I
Actually,
contacted you
we
by the
have
Play Store.
recently added a feedback form. You
Okay.
can reach it through yes. You can write us an email. There's a link on the Play Store page, and there is on there we have rhvoice.com website, rhvoice.org website. They have support email links. So yes, but on Android, just send us a feedback through the app. But if you want us to be able to ask follow-up questions or answer, don't forget to tell us your email address.